Our next presenter and our next presentation is from our very own Jermaine McDonald. It is always, always my absolute pleasure to introduce him to any platform, to any stage. Jermaine is a seasoned educator and leader in the financial and technology sectors. He is dedicated to transforming lives through the power of generational wealth. Since 2017, Jermaine has been teaching and mentoring individuals on how to invest. And this was driven by his passion to help others achieve their God-given purpose. As a follower of Christ, he is also a devoted husband to one wife, father to 2 boys, trainer and mentor. Jermaine's ultimate goal is to see lives transformed and empowered through financial literacy and investment education, making complex concepts simple and accessible to all. And you will see that through the work on the Learn, Grow, Invest YouTube platform and everywhere else that we are. His work reflects a harmonious blend of technical expertise, strategic insight, and a strong foundation in faith and community service. Please join me in welcoming Jermaine to the platform as he speaks to us today about using your business as a vehicle for investing.
Thank you. All right. Can you hear me? Is this set properly? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. So I wanted to take this opportunity to merge 2 concepts, right? So are there persons here who are already familiar with the concept of investing? Show of hands. If you are a community member, then you should understand that concept. And then most of you are entrepreneurs, right? So I wanted to talk about now merging the 2. Right? How do you use your business as a vehicle for investing? Now, the truth is, most of us as entrepreneurs focus on the survival of the business. We're day to day. And that's why, for example, things like insurance, we don't really think about. Thinking long term, we don't think about, right? We're just trying to pay the bills or keep the lights on or put out these fires, but it's not going to get you closer to wealth. All right, so we also have this gift, I like to say, as entrepreneurs, to focus on the short term. So when we even think about the things that we need, we're really just thinking about the thing that is right in front of us. Can anybody relate to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't really appreciate. So for example, the first time I heard about like Keyman Insurance, I was in my 20s. And I was like, I can't wait for a later point. And then the later point comes and I find something else to think about now and I push it down the road and I push it down the road, right? But your business is actually such a powerful thing. I want you to appreciate the fact that what you have is something that gives you the opportunity to build life-changing wealth. So think about all businesses as something that has raw potential, right? I know you can invest in stocks, which we teach people about. I know you can invest in real estate, which we talk about as well. But actually your business is of the highest potential, even more than stocks, right? Because when you invest, you're actually investing in someone else's company. So the number of returns that you can get on somebody else's company, now imagine if you have that for your own. So the problem that we usually focus on as entrepreneurs is that we don't have enough money. So when I talk to entrepreneurs about investing, what I hear is, Jermaine, I don't have enough money. Or how much do I start with? How much do I need? And what you say when you say how much do I need is how little can I spend? And what that tells me is that you really don't believe or understand the concept and the power of investing. So if you are past that stage where you're, struggling to generate enough money, you may find yourself at a place where you are actually making good money and you keep reinvesting it endlessly in the business. There's always something else to do, some next step, some next thing, and you're not really using those funds well. And I'll talk about that later. And then finally, there's this concept of what I call lifestyle and business inflation. Some entrepreneurs treat their businesses like an extension of their wallet. So whatever they desire, the business pays for. So the business now is paying for things and living above its means. So everybody knows about lifestyle inflation, but there's actually business inflation too. And some of you are spending a lot more than you need to spend in your businesses, and you're not really using those funds wisely. And usually that shows up when you're looking for investment or you're trying to do a partnership, and then those numbers are scrutinized. So all entrepreneurs are investors, but not all think like one. So I'm going to talk about that because I think the single greatest thing you can learn how to do is invest and have the mindset of an investor. So you've heard this before, I'm sure. The goal of business is to make what? Do you believe that? It makes sense, right? But I think that you should change that concept and say the goal of a business is to actually build wealth. And the reason why I say that is that there are levels of profit. If you make $100,000, is that profit? Is that the goal of the business? The goal of the business is to make profit, sure, but there are certain levels of profit that is meaningful to you. There are actually some levels of profit that you desire, and it's the same way where you'd say, well, Jermaine, I don't have the funds to invest. And that's really because what you're saying is that you don't think that you're at that level. The goal of the business is to get you to that level of wealth that you imagined when you started the business in the first place. Because most of us think about that great idea and think that it's going to make us a lot of money. And the truth is, you might have an opportunity to do more with the business if you thought as an investor. So an investor is going to focus on one thing, right? Building wealth. And that's what we teach people, that investing is a key to wealth. All right, so there are three things that I'll walk you through, three things that I'm going to just tease this, because this is something that the way we do it will change depending on your company, right? So I want you to look at it this way. The goal of business is to make a profit and also contribute to your personal investment portfolio. So you use your business as this instrument, this vehicle to invest and invest continually. Make sense? I feel like some of you are not really sold, right? So 3 steps, I'll go through them now. So first, and this is investing 101, right? There are 2 ways to make money with investing. Say it with me. Capital appreciation and dividends. These are the 2 ways. No matter how you slice it or think about it, it comes down to one of these 2 things. Your business can actually do the same things for you. So think about capital appreciation as when an asset increases in value, right? So everybody understands real estate. You purchased a property at X amount. A few years later, it's X amount higher. That's capital appreciation. Your business has a value. Right now, there are metrics that Kevin could share with you, and you could value that business. So I remember when I first spoke to him, I was like, I was so proud of myself for doing X amount of revenues, and I was like, this business is worth $100 million. I spoke with him, he's like, no. So there's a way to calculate the value, and the truth is, regardless of that value, there are ways to increase that value. So think about, how can your business become more valuable? How can you make it such that it is so compelling It is so attractive. Like, there are persons who will offer you money to take that business off your hands. And then dividends are simply income that you receive without having to sell or lose that asset. Most people don't think about this part. This is the beauty of owning an asset. This is why people invest in real estate, for the concept of receiving rental income. And the truth is, not a lot of persons really manage that well anyway, right? So the property takes more cash than they realize, and they don't really see the value of that asset for maybe 10 or 20 years. And there's actually a way to calculate how much it makes sense to actually invest to justify the return that real estate investment should give you. And in the same way, right, how can you generate enough cash? Now, what we've done as Learn, Grow, Invest, so we have our shareholders agreement, but I'm still the only shareholder. I'm sorry, Renee. But what that means is that as soon as we're able to pay a dividend, I can pay myself as a director in a company a dividend. And that's a way that you can, well, skipping steps. I'll get there. So you want to create a more valuable business that becomes an asset for you, that provides consistent and positive income. That should be one of the highest priorities for your business. If you're not generating positive cash, if you're not increasing the value of that business, then you may not have a business. You might have a really expensive hobby that some of you have to work 9 to 5 just to maintain that hobby. And then you're working 3 years, 4 years, you want to go full time, but you can't do it because the truth is you have not built an asset. You've built something that's actually taking cash from you, and you're better off just giving that idea to somebody else who can do something better off with it. And I'm not trying to discourage you from having your businesses. I'm just saying, to me, it needs to work, or maybe, just maybe, you're not the right person for that business, which is also true. We've looked at, there are some things that we do as Learn, Grow, Invest now, and that is because we're the best persons to do it. And we've looked at things that others do that are similar, that we say, well, they're the best to do that. So that those gaps that were spoken of before, we did that analysis. We looked at the market, and we know that we're the best at two things. We're the best at teaching. We're teachers naturally. And we're the best at bringing people together. So our entire business is centered around that. So treat your business like an asset, and I want you to think about two words: exit or extract. So when you focus on building an exit, it means that you're creating a valuable and sellable asset. You may choose not to sell it, but if you're thinking and building a business like an asset, because when you buy that real estate, you're hoping one day to be able to sell it for something more valuable. When you buy that stock, you're hoping to sell it one day to somebody who will be willing to pay 1,000 times more than you paid for it because it's that much valuable at that point. Your business needs to do the same thing. So if your business is not growing in value, you're doing something wrong. The next part, which is the part that I find that's more fun, because at first I was thinking about building Learn, Grow, Invest as something that maybe one day we sell, walk away from, talk to the production company, do a whole series on TV, and I was like, well, no, there's so many things about this company that we like, so we prefer now to extract. So we use profits to fund other income streams. So what that means is that the business doesn't become something that takes cash from us. It generates cash, and we're able to use that cash to make other strategic investments. So how does a business become an asset? There are a couple of ways, right? And all these things translate to revenue, essentially, and enough revenue to create gaps in terms of expenses, and then to have meaningful profit. So there are things that you invest in, right? So for example, this conference is an investment in our brand. And so we do a high quality conference so that the next time we do one and we speak to a company about partnering, it's an easier decision for them because they've seen the quality of our work. So that same domain question about the $500 or $100 or $1,000 domain, even that small decision is a decision on branding. Rich regular is not the same as rich and regular. It says something else entirely. But are you thinking about it that way? And I don't think you really see the value that you have for these branding decisions that you make. Do you have a loyal and growing customer base? And the reason why that's important, and sometimes, so there are a couple of ways that you can build and grow a business. And as entrepreneurs, we suffer from charging too little, and then we want to over-deliver. So imagine that you're not charging a fair price, and yet you want to give them 5 times what they paid. Anybody does that? Yes. All right. That's why you don't have enough money. So it's about giving fair value, and it's okay to over-deliver, but you want to over-deliver in a way that is strategic. And the truth is, there are things that, so the more you have, and so loyalty is important in the sense that once you have loyal customers, and we found this, regardless of the price, once they trust you and align with what you're doing, then it's not a matter of price anymore. So once somebody is asking you about the price, it means that you have not sold them value. So we think that we say, well, let's do this for $5,000 because that's what people can afford. People afford whatever they value. I've seen persons who can't pay for a one-on-one consultation for their investments, and they can, I won't say it, right, because it's a personal decision. But I found at one point we were charging a certain amount for our services, and some of them have doubled or tripled, and we're still cheap. And that's because we realize that what we're doing for clients, it's actually immeasurable in the sense that when we charge somebody for a service of helping them to build wealth, because that's what we're doing. So when we charge you for a ticket to a conference and you meet someone who then is a partner in your business, the truth is that ticket price was cheap, right? I'm not trying to oversell a conference, by the way. I'm just making a point. But some of you, when you thought about the price for the ticket, you were trying to, like, there was somebody who said that the price of the conference was actually ridiculous to them. And I thought about it and I said, you know what, I get it. That person doesn't understand what value is. Because the truth is, any one of the sessions that we will have, and you'll see this, that, so imagine the value of making better decisions based on the sessions that we did first. That's priceless. Right? So if you build a loyal and growing customer base, then you will have products and services that speak to them, that matter to them, And stop trying to serve persons who don't value what you offer. Because it's like you're paying the customer to do business with you. The sessions are recorded, right? And next, you need to invest in proven systems and processes. And a system doesn't have to be complex. The most dramatic things we've done are probably the simplest things we've done. And some of them, so I struggled. So for example, is anyone here on our new platform, our new community platform? So I was one of those persons who looked at it and be like, I want to buy the $49 domain because that higher price is just too much. And we invested on a platform that was on sale, right? So we're paying half price for 6 months. And what we've made in terms of revenue from that community in 3 months will pay for the subscription for like the next 5 years. But the truth is, I would not have made that decision if it wasn't on sale. So I'm happy that I learned the lesson now, but I was still being cheap. So sometimes it is this idea, I really want to help you to understand that one, I say this to my Saturday morning fellowship group, right? I say this and sometimes the guys don't really understand why I say it. It is just money. And I say that because there's an amount that we have that feels expensive. There's an amount that we have that feels cheap. The truth is, you're right and then you're also wrong. Because you will again say, well, I can't spend $50,000 to work with someone because that's too expensive. But what if that 50,000 helps you to make $1 million? Was it really expensive? If it helps you to make $1 million, then it was cheap. But we're not looking at it that way. And this is how you think about investments. All of the things I'm saying, I'm talking about investing. That's what I'm talking about. Because investing is being able to spend on something that you see more value built in than what you're paying for it. And then the last thing I'll say here is that it has to be scalable and not tied to your time. And that's a challenge with service-based businesses. So when it's a service-based business, if you can't do the work, you're going to be a bottleneck in your company. All right, so your business becomes an asset when it generates revenues, increases in value, provides excess cash flows without you. Otherwise, you might have a hobby. If it needs you, then you are the asset and not the business. And that's also a good reason to pay yourself more money from the business. And that's why I said we focus on extracting, because the truth is the business, some of your businesses aren't serving you enough in that way. So a real asset will become irresistible to investors, to lenders, to partners, even to customers. So we've learned how to build a valuable community. And we've learned, so when we looked at the space and we really saw what was missing in terms of investing, finance, business, was this element of community. So we used to meet every month at the company where I worked, and I would just see like the thing that was challenging people was the fact that they had all these stories, these questions, these things that they want to learn. And the Saunders are right, where most people will know enough, right? So it's not really an education issue. Sometimes it's a confidence issue. So you know how to invest, but you want somebody to be there with you while you're taking the step. you want to ask questions. And I thought about it earlier when Kiddist asked for them to be her mentor. I thought about it and I said most persons who ask for a mentor don't even know what they want from the mentor. They just feel like they need mentorship. What that is that they probably just need to have more confidence in what they're doing. And that's why I'm a coach, but I'll talk about that later, right? So you want to think about your business being a real asset. Did I do point 2? Why am I seeing? Did I do 2 and I missed it? Okay. Okay. All right. So the third part is learn to extract value from your business to build wealth. So first thing, pay yourself a dividend. That's one way to extract. Treat your company as a dividend-paying stock. Especially if you're not paying yourself a reasonable salary. With prudence, says the CFO, right? So when you think about it as well, and I thought about this, when dividends are taxed at 15%, right? Your salary is taxed at what, 33, 34%? So you can actually extract from the company a little bit cleaner if you're receiving a dividend and not a salary. Never thought about that, did you? So the next thing is that you want to allocate profits to other investments, stocks, real estate, systems. You can look for other companies to buy. You know, this is something that some of you might have heard me say to you. You might have been a little bit peeved, but I probably understand the value of some of your businesses more than you do. And so when I offer to partner or purchase or invest, it's because I see something that maybe I don't think you see. And I'm willing to always invest to build something that becomes an asset to me. And then you want to continually reinvest to grow that asset base. So if you keep with this mindset of an investor, think of your business as right now, do that assessment with somebody. Well, what is your business valued? And if it's not a value that you appreciate, find ways to grow that value. But ask yourself the honest question, right? How much is my business worth? And as I said, there are multiple ways to do it, but the truth is some of your businesses are overvalued in your heads. So I spoke to somebody once who had an application because we're looking for an app to buy to integrate into our community. So the person built this app. It was about 5 years old. It had 0 revenues being generated, but the person spent about 3 to 4 million to build it. They had maybe about 600 users, but they weren't paying users. How much would you offer to buy that company? Open question. There is a way to value it. What would that be worth, Kevin? Help me out. So I'm talking to someone who built an app. So it's a stock tracker, 600 users, but not paying, 0 revenues generated. But they paid 4 million to develop it. And so they wanted to charge me 4 million plus because they wanted to recover that development cost.
I mean, you can consider adding a premium to the cost, but then most persons would focus on an income approach with what will it generate in terms of cash flow in the future? Because if I'm spending 4 million now, I have 600, what is churn rate on those 600? What's
And
the continuous
also,
growth in
what would
user?
it cost me to build the same thing from scratch?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for most persons, if they've built it, they're going to want to project future cash flows and then discount that.
But there are no cash flows.
Well, there
0
will
revenues.
be, given, because they're going to look at the current users, the potential, the churn rate on those current users, how they expect to grow those users over the next couple of months, what the subscription model or revenue model is going to be, and then come back to that. But then from your perspective as a buyer, well, for me, I'm just focusing squarely on the cost and at a premium to the cost for their time and their sweat equity and all of those wonderful stuff.
So,
So it really comes down to a case by
give us a
case,
number. Just give us a number,
Yeah,
sir.
I'm not spending maybe more than 4.2, 4.3.
Okay. So that deal
Sorry.
died because I thought the person was asking too much. So I didn't think that they had built an asset in terms of that product. 600 users sounds like a lot, but, and if you've experienced this, it's very hard to convert persons who are free clients to paid clients, right? So maybe you'll convert 10%, 20%. So really, what I saw was about 100 users. And then, if there was work to be done, if maybe there's like rebranding, different things to do, there would be a cost to me to get it to that point. And so I looked at what we call the replacement cost. How much would it cost me to build this thing from scratch? That would be cleaner, less errors or issues to deal with, and I can just build that exactly the way I want. And I made him an offer for about 1.5 million. And I said, we can integrate this into our community. You can stay on as a partner, and we can build something with this. This was about 3 years ago. That app is still sitting. Nobody's using it. Now, to me, that was an opportunity that was missed, but I understand. And I've had multiple of those conversations of persons who they don't think about how to really create value from what they've built. He was thinking short term, and I say this with all due respect. He was thinking about what he spent initially and just simply trying to recover that cost. He didn't see the benefit of integrating with someone who had thousands of members in their community that he could now benefit from, that we build something meaningful that generates subscription revenue, that generates a different chance to upsell and do other things. So I was saying to him a vision that we could be generating millions of dollars from this application. But we had to agree on a price. Right? So I share that story to make it, because again, it comes down to decisions. So I'll recap here and then I'll take questions. So though you're an entrepreneur, think as an investor. And the truth is, if you're just an investor, think like an entrepreneur, because if you understand businesses more, you'll invest better. You want to build an asset, and then you do two things: exit or extract. But I choose, and I recommend to you, depending on your type of business, build it first, then extract, and then you have the opportunity to sell that for even more than you would have if you just focused on an exit. One of the things you pay for in a valuation is that expected future cash flow. So if you have a business that's generating positive cash, growing cash, that's priceless, especially if that fits now smoothly into some other system or business network. Right? So start thinking about your business as a vehicle to invest in order to build wealth. Thank you for your time. I hope there are no questions.
Well, we are in the Q&A section. Thank you so much for that presentation. We are in Q&A. Do we have any questions in the house or online?
Yeah, all right.
Oh,
I'm a tech founder, right? A lot of tech founders sometimes struggle with, well, not just tech founders, founders in general struggle with when is it a good point for you to be at that place where the business does not need you, or you are not the asset in the business?
Yeah. Well, I think it's actually easiest for a tech founder,
Yeah.
right? Because it's tech. Things can be automated, things can be taught or replicated a lot easier. The thing is, again, if you focus on creating an asset, right? So you have the ability to build fast and scale fast. The problem is, I think sometimes you're not focused on the right things. Meaning, and I've seen this, right? The joy of building this wonderful, amazing product, this wonderful, amazing ecosystem that you probably can't monetize as a big ship. Maybe it's easy to monetize a payroll piece or some customer service piece. And we don't think, when we look at some of the most like really valuable tech companies, they do one thing really well. They may offer a bunch of stuff, but they're really known for one thing. And so as a tech founder, what I would say is build out that one thing that will generate cash, that will increase the value of the company, and then it's easier now to find that separation and look at key roles that you fill and try and replace those roles. So there's one thing that you would typically do best. So for example, I like to say for tech founders, if you're not good with sales, then outsource that. Find somebody else to do it. But if you're good with sales, find somebody else to manage the tech and you do sales. But I actually think it's much easier for a tech company than much other companies. Because for example, I can't find somebody to teach investing the way that I teach it now.
AI.
Right? So that's going to be a challenge.
thank you for that. Any other question in the room? We can take one more.
Hello.
Hello.
Afternoon. Okay, my question is, so for entrepreneurs who are primarily service-based, you may offer multiple services, but all the businesses are service-based. How would you say that we could approach everything you just said, making your business an asset?
Yeah.
Because the businesses require you, because you're service-based. So what's your advice on approaching?
So the best way to do it, and it's a great question, that's a problem that we try to solve as Learn, Grow, Invest. And the short version is you need to create a productized service. So now your service needs to become a product that's packaged. The problem with service providers is that we like to customize. And so we like to over-deliver again, right? So for example, when Renee had her first business, which was Baby Cakes, and so by the way, Baby Cakes is what has led to this. She loved to plan events, put on baby showers, etc. The problem is now, it wouldn't be a set scope, it wouldn't be a set price, it wouldn't be a set way to engage the client. And so we think small. We're thinking, well, let me over-deliver for Renee. So Renee wants a baby shower, but she wants a diaper cake, so you need somebody to host, you need somebody to do this. And then now you start to morph into this 100 service company when really you started out as saying, I think I can host and put on great events. So look at that whole slew of what you offer. Look at what fills those gaps in the market for you, what you can do better than anybody else that you can think of. And focus on that piece, find partners to fill the gaps, and you'll see more growth from doing that than trying to be everything for the client. Because the truth is, if you're everything for the client, you're not going to get equitable return for what you're giving the client anyway. And I know your business, your services are undervalued. Just saying that because, no, I can say that because When you're in a service business, it's actually a very high chance that your services are undervalued. But when you break it out, and that's what the big companies do. So I'll share this story quickly if I'm allowed to. Okay, so when I had my first company fixing computers, I used to charge $1,500 an hour. Went to a company, tried to solve a problem. I was there for a couple of hours, and then somebody else came because I couldn't solve that problem. That person was charging $10,000 an hour. And it blew my mind. Because, of course, I thought no company would be paying $10,000 an hour to fix this problem that I was there to fix. But clearly I was wrong.
So, thank you. We do have one question from our online audience, and it says, not every business is meant to be scaled. How then can a solopreneur build wealth without trading more time for money?
Not every business is meant to be scaled. It's the person who posted this message me, because we can have a really long discussion about this. Now, you don't have to scale every business because there are some persons who are okay with just creating a job, and that's okay. So if you want your business to build wealth, it has to scale. So it's either it's going to scale or you're going to find ways to extract, to build wealth some other way. But you can't have it both ways, meaning think about the value of your time as an entrepreneur, the value of your expertise, and look at how much you lose by the time you've invested for the returns that you have. So I would say if you don't want to trade time for money, it's simple. Double or triple your prices.
All right. So we have one final question now from the audience, and then we'll move right on.
Hello? Okay.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, is
I have this.
For any other question, I'll be more than happy to answer it afterwards. We can take one more.
Yes, just one more. We do have a break coming up soon, so you can find Jermaine. You can't miss him, green jacket.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. Hi, Jermaine. So I'm in the continuing medical education space. It's a B2B service-based
Great
business.
space.
Right. But you mentioned something that you can't find anyone to teach investing as well as you do. Likewise, I'm looking to expand, but my setback is I will not be able to find anyone to do the services as well as I do, thereby probably, messing up my reputation. How do you, or what would you say would be the best approach? Do you look for people to coach to replace you, or look for people to coach to minimize your contribution to the business?
So when I said that, that was actually a big issue that we sought to solve. Now, when I say that nobody teaches investing like I do, what I found, so for persons who I teach, they don't need to learn everything that I know. What they want to learn how to do is invest with confidence, learn how to consistently make money, and learn how to invest or what to invest in. That's not my 8 years of experience, all the hours that I've put in. The truth is our clients will usually want much less than we actually focus on giving them. And again, that's that same over-delivery part. Now, there are things that you know that can be productized. There are things that you probably do that you don't need to do, and then the customer will still be happy. So the reason why there's this book called E-Myth that speaks about creating a franchise from your business. And the truth is what we're working towards for Learn, Grow, Invest is creating products. Because the truth is there are persons who want to. So one, I realize that the clients that would best value what I provide are really only still interested in one or two things, right? They may say, well, Jermaine, I have this 10 million. I want it to be 50 in 5 years. They're not necessarily interested in what I know. They just want to know how do they get there. And then the next part, that you really have to focus on is what is the real value that you're providing. Now, you may have skill sets or things that you're not really putting into that product, even though you know it. So you may think it's a key part of your business, but it's not. It's just knowledge that you have that you're probably not monetizing anyway. So look at what you're actually delivering, what they're paying for, and just create a package around that. That can be taught. There are systems that you can build around that, and then you may find some other way to create 3 or 4 times more value from the other stuff that really is not common around you. That's where probably the secret is to unlock even more revenues and profits for you.
Thank you so very much for your presentation. We do have that online question, but we'll ask you to take it off stage. Thank you again. We are going to welcome Jesse's once more to present you with your speaker with your speaker gift.
Guys, this is my first presentation. By the way, this is my first conference. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you guys so very much. Thank you, Jermaine.